Welcome to Junior Achievement. My name is Risa, and on behalf of JA, I'd like to welcome you as a JA volunteer. Today we are going to be exploring the JA Economics for Success curriculum. That's a middle school program that is offered. Some of the items you're going to need for today's activity are the guides for volunteers and teachers. One is for you and one is for you to give to the classroom teacher. You also need the student workbooks that you can have the students take and write their name on, and then you can leave them in the classroom in between your visits. We also have table tents that the students can write their name on, so you can start to learn their names throughout your presentation. I always encourage volunteers to have them write their names on both the front and the back so that you can see it from either side if you're milling around the classroom. There are also take-home newsletter flyers that you can send home with the students to encourage them to share with their families. And you'll notice on the back there's an online career assessment that they can complete if they would like to, and that's very special and unique to this curriculum. One item that's not included in the curriculum kit, but we would encourage you to bring with you, is small sticky notes or stickers that you can use for an adapted lesson that I'll talk about in just a minute. As you look at your volunteer guide, what you'll notice is some greetings from JAUSA in the opening pages and how best to work with the students. And then you'll notice a master list of materials. This materials list will help you identify if you're missing anything from your curriculum packet, and if you are, please be sure to let our office know so that we can get you the needed items. What you'll notice is on the bottom left-hand side of the materials, there is a footer that will tell you the session the item is used in as well as what it's titled, and that will help you determine what session materials are used in. As we jump into this first activity, it is called Mirror Mirror, and it's going to allow the students the opportunity to look at some of the choices that they are going to be making in their futures, what shapes those choices, how they can gain self-knowledge, and then we're going to be looking at the world of work. So to first start off, you want to make sure that you spend some time introducing yourself to the students. Share who you are, what you do, how you've gotten there. Really start building that rapport with the students. Then what you'll notice is you're going to jump into an icebreaker activity that's called You Choose. And the first thing we want to do is to get the students up and moving so that they're interactive right away. And what you'll notice is this activity allows you the opportunity to throw out two options, and the students can choose which option that they would like. So for example, if they would choose Reese's Pieces, they can go to the left side of the room, and if they would choose M&Ms, they can go to the right side of the room. You can offer those two options, have the students make their decision, and then you can talk to us a little bit about it as you go. You'll notice there are a handful of options listed, but you can also choose some of your own if you would like to. Really, this is starting to get the students to think about how we make choices every single day, and some of them are very, very simple, and some of them are going to get harder and harder as we grow older. And so this is just an introductory option for them to really kind of get moving and to think about the choices that we make on a daily basis. After that activity, you can have the students sit back down, and then what you want them to do is to open up their workbooks to page 1. And you're going to talk a little bit about self-knowledge. What is always helpful is if you can write on the board as you're talking through this, make a triangle, and on the top write the word values. What I always like to do is to talk to the students about what these different words mean. All three of these words add up to really their self-knowledge, really who they are and knowing who they are. So I always ask them what these words mean, and I always bring it down to this. Values are really what you believe in, interests are things that you like, and skills are things that you're good at. And so those are just some great synonym words that will help the students understand the difference. After you talk a little bit about those three categories, what the students can do is turn to page 2. And independently, they can work on thinking about themselves. So what you want them to do is just to give them a few minutes to write down what their top skills are. Some students are going to excel at this rapidly, and some of them are going to have a little bit of a harder time thinking of their ideas, and so we would encourage you just to say at least one, if not 2 or 3. Think about what you would like to write down and write it down, and then just kind of guide them through it. And I always choose a couple people to share some of their ideas at the end. Then I have them move to the next category of interests, and again I have them jot down some of their top interests and then also some of the activities that they're least interested in. After this, I pause and I again have some of the students share a little bit about what they're interested and least interested in. And what I also do is I tie it back to their skills. So I ask them, how many of you guys have a skill that is also one of your interests? And from there we can talk a little bit about how sometimes our skills, we're really good at something and we're also interested in it, and that's a win-win situation. But sometimes we are really interested in something that maybe we're not good at, and I always use that as an opportunity to talk to the students about how we can overcome some of those obstacles. For example, we can practice harder, we can ask for more help, etc. Just because something that we're interested in isn't necessarily one of our top skills, we can still build and excel at that specific thing. And then finally, you want to jump down to the values section. And what I always like to highlight is the fact that this is just a sample list. There are lots more values that the students might find important in their lives that are not listed. So I always give them the opportunity to add additional values if they would like. If you have time, one kind of fun thing to do is to get the students to think about what different careers, what values would be important to those. So I always have the students think about what values would be important if you were a banker, or if you were a doctor, or if you were a teacher, or if you were a race car driver, and really get them to think about some of those key values are different for everybody. We really need to decide what's important to ourselves, but there are sometimes key values that are important in certain industries. Finally, the last portion of the activity is to really look at the world of work. And this is where we want to challenge the students to think about the different career options and opportunities that there are. So what you'll notice is that there is a big World of Work poster that you can hang in the front of the classroom, and the students also can reference that same poster very closely at their desks on page 3 of the student workbooks. What you want to do is talk through the idea of people jobs, data jobs, thing jobs, and idea jobs. These are the big categories that really make up the 4 main categories of jobs. And what you'll notice is on this poster, some of them start to blend. And I always use the nurse as an example. The nurse is found practically in the middle. And so what I always talk about is, of course we all know that nurses work with people, but they also work with data. They have to work with charts, they have to work with numbers and figures and medications, and so they're really working with data. They're also working with things. They have stethoscopes and syringes and all of the other equipment that they work with every day. And finally, they have to have a lot of ideas and to be creative in how to work with a patient, maybe a young child that's really scared of needles. How are they going to creatively get that child to be calm enough to have that shot? Or if they might need to be creative in brainstorming what is needed for a specific prognosis, etc. So I always get the students to think about a nurse because it's something we can all relate to, and it's a perfect example because it encompasses so many of the large ideas. So what the students get the opportunity to do is they get to think about what their top dream jobs would be. And so they can use the workbook page 4 to brainstorm what their top 3 careers would be. And what they are challenged to do is to think about if that would be a people, data, thing, or idea category. So they can jot them down in their book. They can also circle which category they think that falls in. I always say for them to use their best guess. If they're not sure, to make their best guess. One idea we have is to allow the students to write on a sticky note that you bring in. So a small sticker or a sticky note, something that you have in your office. Have the students write their initials and their dream job on here, and then what you can do is have the students come up individually, share their dream job, and then put the sticky where it appropriately would fall on the World of Work poster. What this allows you to do is at the end you can kind of see where the students fall and really kind of get a feel for the types of jobs that they would like to have as they grow up. To finish out the time together with the students in this first activity, there are some follow-up questions found on the bottom of the activity page, and you can use that to kind of help summarize your time with the students. There's also a summary and review that is provided, and this really just brings everything together and really allows you to emphasize the relationship between self-knowledge and the world of work. What you want to do is to encourage the students to take their newsletter home. Sometimes classroom teachers will encourage the students to actually fill out the information and maybe get extra credit, or you as the volunteer could ask the students to bring it back, and maybe you have a special treat for them the next time you come in. But again, emphasize to the students that they have the opportunity to do a career assessment on the back, and if you have the opportunity, you can talk about it the next time you come into the classroom. Enjoy session 1.